So welcome everybody to our third meet and greet session with our advisors. I'm here to introduce our leader, Chief Veteran Officer, Rich Jones. Take it away.
Betty, I just want to thank you for your leadership to make it happen every day. You make it look easy, but we know that it's not. When we were at the Wounded Warrior Project Soldier Ride this morning that I was mentioning, the proof is in the pudding when you have so many people who are within the community that come up and say, you're having a huge impact on our community, right? Which ultimately means we're changing lives. And that's what we're all about. What we've tried to do is be very multifaceted with our work within our Veterans Network, realizing that is to be a resource for our community. Part of this, when we brought our leaders, some of the most amazing, talented executives who have had their own path. It's always good to get to the high ground and get a sense of what's possible. Just teeing it up for the conversation, which again, we're so fortunate to have Tom Ryan. Tom, it's understating what Tom's role is at the company. It is the most important part of our business. We are a content company. It's the most challenging aspect of a transitioning business to streaming, right? We all know that that's where our industry is moving towards. And the person who's the battlefield commander, the president of ViacomCBS's global streaming, Tom Ryan. We're also very fortunate to have Mike Pannacciulli, who oversees our global content operations for streaming for ViacomCBS. Both Mike and Tom are bigger supporters of our veterans. Our Veterans Network both serve as advisors to our Veterans Network. Last fall, you know how important the Marine Corps birthday is. And when the Commandant came to us last year and saying, we'd love to be able to do something because normally we have the birthday celebration on the Intrepid, but last year obviously was not possible. With a few phone calls, literally, Tom and his team were able to pull together and have distribution and have the Marine Corps' 245th birthday be on Pluto TV. Again, we have many streaming platforms. Pluto TV is, I know you guys know, it is absolutely amazing. And we were able to provide through the military channel on Pluto to all Marines who had access, and the feedback was amazing. And somebody says, I got you covered. Nobody does that better than Tom and Mike. So as veterans in transition, uncertain about what the future might bring, I'm sure hearing what you've gone through, steps in your career that have gotten you to where you are right now and given you the perspective to lead this global organization. I think that would be really fascinating to hear about that.
It's an honor to be running the streaming division for ViacomCBS. I've been very fortunate in my career, and I've had plenty of failures, more failures than successes, to be sure. But, have learned a lot of, I think, important lessons along the way. Sometimes, the best things to do are to take some of the best things from what's been done already, but then modernize them, not just completely throw the baby out with the bathwater. And we said, TV's given us all a great place to go. People generally like channel surf. Of course, they like free. They're willing to watch some advertisements in exchange for a free service, even though they'll also probably pay for subscription services. So we said there's a lane here. And as an entrepreneur, you need to look for that white space, because if there's a bunch of competition already in a particular category, then with no resources and a small team, you're very unlikely to be successful.
As veterans or anyone who's in states of transition, we think, like, I was using the compass analogy, like that you shoot an azimuth and you walk towards the objective. What I've heard from you saying is that you started off and there's many, adjustments along the way. And every one of those experiences gave you experiences and tools. And I think, the thing that resonated with me was that when you initially said that failure, a lot of people, the fear of failure, I think, is something that is part of our human nature. But when you're not willing to be at least a risk taker, that can really be a dangerous habit for a career. When I spent a year at Walter Reed and then having to figure out what I was going to do with the rest of my life, the anxiety and fear that I had about looking into an uncertain future was terrifying. And just that guidance of like, hey, listen, one step at a time. From your perspective, like just maybe some insight into that.
I think when I have had failures, there's been times where I've felt kind of immobilized by it. I think you learn that is part of the journey, right? I mean, you have to apply yourself to the best of your ability. Believe in yourself. What I did learn was that you need to be able to get up after a failure quickly, even if it's uncomfortable. I took risks early in my career, and I took risks more, later in my career. When I sort of started Pluto, I was in my mid 40s. My wife, we had just had our first child. As I started the company, I learned my wife had twins on the way. So, we were completely operating without a net. I said, if I'm going to build something and have a big impact, and I wanted to be able to do that. And I realized it was also what I felt I had to do. And I felt that a lot of the learnings I had from, the ups and downs of my career up until that point set me up to have the confidence to do it again.
And Tom, if I can ask, one of the things that when you look at people who have been able to navigate through successful careers, did you have mentors, people that were your personal board of directors, people that you would vet things with that were able to give you guidance?
I think that's so important. I would also say I think I should have done more of it. To your point, Rich, having a real confidential mentor, I think, is important. And yes, I have had those over the years. Earlier in my career, there's a couple of different people who were further on in their careers who I would turn to, and I'd brainstorm things and they'd give me advice. There's one thing to be mentored by someone who's done it before, and that's valuable in its own right. But I think that having somebody to share your thoughts with and have them react to it, I learned that in order to succeed, to have a good life balance and a healthy, good mental health, good sort of family and personal life, that again, having somebody to talk to, I think is important, whether it's a mentor or whether, you're seeing a therapist. Just particularly in times like this, people are dealing with lots of difficult issues.
Now, Mike, obviously your career, right? Very, very interesting path to where you are now. Maybe, talk about your walk, as Tom was describing, things that sort of forged you, and then things that challenged you, and then, the insights around, obviously your day job is one that's critical to our future as a company. Just give sort of a snapshot day in the life. I think from that, a lot of things can be teased out.
This is great. It's great to see everybody assembled here. My career path has been semi-linear, but with a lot of zigzags along the way. I think I was infatuated with movies and TV. So I always kind of knew that somehow I would be close to that world, or I was going to make sure that I was. I didn't know exactly where I wanted to go. So I did some PA work, worked on a lot of movies and commercials, and did a lot of the freelance. That taught me to be, advocate for yourself. You're not guaranteed another job in the freelance space necessarily, and you have to hustle. I also learned working hard is something that you're going to be doing. You don't realize how much work goes into that, those 16-hour days and long nights, and those challenges and figuring those things out was important to me, and building the base knowledge and education that stacks on each other like bricks. That led me to post-production, working those late nights and figuring out that this is interesting, but again, I'm still not where I want to be. I want it to be back in New York. I want it to be doing more. And I think that's important throughout. Rich, is just taking opportunities that may not 100% feel right, because you may have some doubt. Is this the right fit for me? Am I going to be good enough to do this? Is this something I want to do? But there's enough there to kind of take that leap of faith. It was probably the first time I realized that there's opportunity through change. You have to be ready to take that chance and make that move. So when I saw an opportunity pop up on the ViacomCBS streaming side for this role that I'm presently in, just felt like the right time, the right fit. And it was an expansion of everything that I've ever learned. I was ready for that bigger step. And, back in September, as we looked forward, looking out, Paramount Plus is going to launch. We've got these international territories that we're going to launch. To think where it's gone now, and, again, largely taking chances when they, I saw a crack in the door, and, got to open that door. I encourage everybody to do that through their careers. Don't be afraid. It might not always work out. What Tom was saying, you never really know. You always look for success, but trust your gut, do your research, and 9 times out of 10, it's going to be the right move. And if nothing else, you're going to learn a lot from that experience. take those chances when they're offered to you?
I'm going to sum up some really top line passion, right? That early passion is important, right? So I think to have a sustainable career, something that's like the nuclear reaction that drives you, right? So your passion for the industry was, it comes out loud and clear. Secondly, every place you've been, you've squeezed the juice out of every orange, right? You've taken advantage of every opportunity. And then the power of the connections, the people you've worked with, and that then led on to other opportunities, right? So connecting, making the most of the relationships, I think is again, a lesson that I'm listening from your walk.
Your career has multiple phases and they're not always going to be linear, but it's, the first stage is usually learn. Second stage is earn. Third stage is return. The learning goes on forever. That's why he said it's not always linear. The earning is not just about the financial, which is important, but it's earning your trust, earning your keep, earning everything that makes you a valuable employee and person. And then the return is this, right? And this is the great gift. And that, you could tell people how fun this is or how rewarding it is, but until you actually do it yourself, you don't really see that. And that doesn't have to happen at the end of your career. The return could happen at various points when you're ready, when it's right.
I think we all share a passion for the entertainment industry. And what do you see, how this continues to evolve, and which may provide an opportunity for, our interns and for us to think about, like what Wayne Gretzky would say, don't go to where the puck is, but go to where the puck's going to be.
There's this evolution of media formats that, has been growing, particularly the connected TV screen, I think, is this new device, and the living room is the new destination for a lot of the sort of internet delivered media consumption that we're seeing. As a result of that, it's undeniable that there is cord cutting, and people are migrating. Streaming presents this massive new opportunity for us, and I think we're extraordinarily well positioned as a company because we have in Pluto the number one player in the free ad-supported streaming TV space, or AVOD. Pluto has only been in business for 7 years. It has soon going to be on $1 billion annual run rate of revenue. And so the company's gone from zero to $1 billion in revenue in a very short period of time. And I think the best is yet to come, because there's huge growth still here in the US, and there's all of the international growth that we're trying to capture now by launching in 25 countries. We're already seeing consumers are subscribing to more and more paid subscription services like Paramount Plus. It used to be 2 or 3. Now it's more like 4 or 5 for the average household. The fact that we've got 2 is really powerful.
Thank you. I mean, it's tremendously inspirational. And as I said, we're so appreciative, realizing that time is our most precious and limited resource. And you've been so generous today and in all the instances that I mentioned. And we're so appreciative. This has been tremendously insightful. Mike, I want to thank you. Same, ditto. And I just want to give a round of applause to our guest today for an amazing session. I found this to be really insightful. I think we come away with, we're always looking for tools for our toolbox, arrows for our quiver, so to speak. And I can say this has been tremendously helpful. We're so appreciative of your time today to be able to give us a sense of your experience and your walk. And to our veteran interns, I hope that you found this to be as engaging and interesting and helpful as we have.
You're an inspiration to us, and so we really do appreciate everything that you've done for the country, and thrilled that you're here at ViacomCBS. Thank you. And Rich and Betty, thank you for setting this up. It's been great to be here.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much.